We will be in Fayetteville, Arkansas this Saturday. The Every Given Saturday Tour is headed in to Razorback Stadium for the first time. We've never been there before. Cincinnati versus Arkansas. It's really just a cheap excuse to put this very sexy graphic up that Director Colin generated earlier this afternoon. If you don't take this seriously, let me give you a piece of advice. Ignore that Cincinnati Bearcat logo and just pretend it's LSU or pretend it's Florida. And the reason I mention those two programs is because in the JP Poll preseason ratings, we have LSU 24th, we have Florida 26th, and we have Cincinnati sandwiched between them at 25. Very similar teams. I think that this game would be getting a lot more national attention, though, if it were LSU going into Razorback Stadium. I can't control that. Here's what I can control, what we think about the game. This is probably the toughest road assignment in the SEC in Week 1. I think it's even tougher on Cincinnati than Utah going into Gainesville, because at least Utah takes a seasoned veteran team in there. Cincinnati lost a ton of valuable pieces, not the least of which in this scenario includes quarterback. Desmond Ridder, a multi-year starter. If I were taking him in here, I'd feel a lot better. But I'm starting a first-year guy with a lot of other new pieces. I am outmanned talent-wise. I'm good, but I've got some uncertainty about my roster, and I got to go into, at this point, probably the most underrated game day environment in the SEC. It's not getting its just due yet. I think it will down the road. Reynolds Razorback Stadium. Ask Texas how that place feels to go into. I think Cincinnati's going to experience the same thing this Saturday. You have not had hype around Arkansas like this in a long time. So they're ready to do their part. I think that matters a lot in this game. I don't think there are any two ways about it. I'm going to show you what our model thinks in a little while. Full disclosure, I don't think our model is fully accounting for what home field will mean in this game. We don't have a standard home field, even stadium by stadium. We issue a home field value game by game because if Alcorn State were coming in here and it was a 4 o'clock kickoff in the middle of the season, they would not get what Cincinnati's about to get Saturday at 3:30, 2:30 Central. So I'm going to talk more about that in a second. How does this whole KJ Jefferson, Kendall Briles, year 2 in the system thing manifest itself? It's one of the most popular stats over the summer was Kendall Briles, offensive coordinator there at Arkansas. He has never had a returning quarterback to work with. Well, all of a sudden, boom, KJ Jefferson is back, Kendall Briles is back, and what's that supposed to mean? You know, it's supposed to suggest that they're going to be better. There's going to be more that we can expect this year. Well, this is where we kind of find that out. And you know what I expect? Arkansas going to be known for running the ball again this year. Had the best rushing attack in the country last year. They'll be right up there again this year. Would not surprise me at all if they were a little more aggressive through the air early in this game than anyone expects them to be. Because one of the key talking points out of Arkansas that's been overlooked around the SEC throughout the fall camp period has been the emergence of their receiver stable. And it's not just Hazelwood. I mean, it's guys like Matt Landers. It's guys like Warren Thompson. They've got several guys, actually, that they think they can rely on. And if you're serious to me, when you say you got an OC and a quarterback there, and there's a lot more I should expect in year 2, well, I'll see it. And I'll see it against a completely retooled secondary in Cincinnati this Saturday. Now, eventually there's going to come a time in this game where Arkansas settles in and they rely on a bigger, more physical offensive line to blow Cincinnati off the ball and take over and take all the guesswork out of the game. Last year in that playoff game when Bama faced Cincinnati, Bama had the Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback, and yet they still ran the ball 47 times because they knew Arkansas couldn't withstand it for 4 quarters. Or they knew Cincinnati couldn't withstand it for 4 quarters. That was, by the way, 301 yards on the ground, 6.4 yards per carry. Why should I expect Arkansas not to be able to mirror that if they so choose that approach? So a lot of that, I think, will happen. What's Cincinnati's response? This is a good team. Sounds like I'm selling them short. I'm not. This line's under a touchdown, and it's at Arkansas. I mean, that is an odds maker looking you in the eye and telling you, if this is on a neutral field, we're looking at around a field goal game. Do you believe that? We've got Arkansas preseason power rated 9. We've got Cincy 25. So we think these are two good teams, but I think Cincinnati is going to be a team that improves throughout the year. But if you look at their schedule here, this is the toughest game they'll play all season. And then they're going to disappear off your radar. And the fact of the matter is, they probably won't reappear as it relates to the playoff conversation if they lose this game. So, I've listened to Wiltfong talk. He's pretty close to the Cincinnati program. I've listened to him talk throughout the summer, and he said, look, they've got talent. I mean, they've recruited very well. They've developed very well. It's just the intangibles, like any other staff would be concerned about. And they just don't know. You don't know until you get into a live game situation. But they've got a really good offensive line in their own right now. They're replacing a lot of pieces, but don't overlook the fact that they bring back pretty much the entire offensive line. And so they may be able to go in there. And if they start moving the ball on you and they start converting third downs at a little bit higher clip than you expect early on, that's one recipe. The second part of that recipe is you don't know what you're going to get at quarterback from them. Now, it's going to be an extremely tough environment for either one of those kids to operate in, no matter who wins the job. But all you know is who they lost. I'm not sitting here pretending to be an expert on it either. All we know is who they lost. You'll find out Saturday who they have. College football teaches us every single year there's some new name that pops on your screen out of nowhere, usually in week 1 or week 2, and you're sitting there at 12:30 a.m., well past your bedtime, and you're watching ESPN or you're watching some highlight show, and not only are you seeing some guy who's exploded on the national scene, then if you're a really hardcore sicko, you go to their message board and you're reading quotes from insiders and team mods and maybe some coaches, and they tell you, hey, we kind of expected this. We kept it quiet, but we saw this in practice. What if Cincinnati has one of those guys? That's all I'm saying. What if they have one of those guys? Let's take a look at what the model thinks. The model is right in line with odds makers, but I had a little manual adjustment here. Could be homerism, could just be common sense. The Caesars number has Arkansas -6. That's down from 7. I expect some money to come back in on Arkansas, so I think that thing may close at a touchdown. So if you like the Razorbacks, I'd probably jump on 6 right now. Our model's at 7.5. I told you I did not think that our model was accurately factoring in what home field should be worth in this game. Point on home field, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but trust me, it is. And so we not only lean Arkansas to win the game, we also lean Arkansas to cover. I think the line was probably a little more appropriate at 7. I think that's where it will close. But give me Arkansas to win. Give me Arkansas to cover. I cannot stress enough. 4-quarter game. We don't expect any kind of blowout here. Really, really good, solid pushback from Cincinnati. It's a really formidable week 1 opponent. Cincinnati, they go on to play the rest of their schedule. Arkansas's got South Carolina in their next week. So they're 2 big games. They do not get any tune-ups, so they got to be ready.